O Show. This is the Big 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 O Show.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on a new Acura Integra. $229 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
When presenting an award to an employee, athlete, executive, or fantasy GM, make sure you call Orvieto's Awards and More. For 35 years, these custom award specialists have been providing plaques, trophies, custom framing, while providing state-of-the-art laser and computerized engraving, UV printing, and glass crystal etching. They do all their engraving and printing in-house for quality control. Call Charles at 305-949-8098 or visit them at orvietosawards.com. Orvieto's Awards and More, where recognition is rewarding.
Set the rhythm of your smart home with Sloman Shield Link, the new integrated smart home platform that automates your life just the way you want it. Sloman Shield Link. Be the maestro of your own home.
After 40 years, the Big Cheese Miami is still producing great Italian food. They started in 1984. Since then, they've been winning awards while being voted the best inexpensive Italian restaurant in Miami. Visit them for great food, amazing service. Witness the decades of Cane's memories. The walls are like a Miami Hurricanes Hall of Fame. The Big Cheese delivers anything on its menu or party platter menu to your home, office, or even a park for a picnic. Located at 8080 Southwest 67th Avenue, Miami. Call 305-662-6855. TheBigCheeseMiami.com, where they serve large portions at family prices.
Welcome to Caneswear. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, Caneswear has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. Caneswear, the spot Miami fans shop.
It's game day at Toyota of Hollywood. Our all-stars are here to give you our MVP experience. Join the fun and feast on discounts up to $4,500. Huddle up and score big on a 25 Corolla. Not $26,000, $17,988. It's a tailgate party you don't want to miss. So gobble up the savings at the #1 volume Toyota dealer. Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood Boulevard and Sheridan Street. Open till midnight.
For over 16 years, EJDconstruction.com has provided South Florida residents quality craftsmanship, accurate project management, and exceptional service. That's why EJDconstruction.com is an A-rated member of Angie's List and the Better Business Bureau. When you're looking for the right custom home builder for additions or home remodeling, please call my friend Eric at 305-433-4843. That's 305-433-4843 for EJDconstruction.com.
It starts every morning before the sun comes up. Projects are laid out. Plans are made. Equipment is fueled and loaded with inventory to handle all service requests. Orders are given to an army of skilled landscape maintenance professionals, certified arbor trimmers, irrigation technicians, and licensed pest management experts who fan out to communities and businesses all over South Florida. Experienced, on time, and dependable. Our staff is fully trained, licensed, and insured. Contact us by phone, email, social media, or through our website to answer all your landscape questions. We are Cutter's Edge. Total Landscape Solutions.
When it comes to your smile, confidence is so important. At Moody S Dental, they provide the services to get your smile back. This family-run practice prides itself by offering the latest technology to give your family the best experience possible. Moody S Dental has been in business for over 30 years with offices in Hialeah and Plantation. They accept most major dental insurances. They provide free new patient exams, 20% off select treatments. To qualify, please follow us on Instagram at moodys.dental. Moody S Dental has been in business for over 30 years. To schedule an appointment in Hialeah, call 305-821-0231 and Plantation 954-692-6825. From Invisaligns, dental implants, same-day crowns, and the preventative care and preservation to get your smile back. Go to moodysdental.com to find out more and tell them Big O sent you.
Price, service, selection. Get all this and more at South Florida's #1 loved Subaru store, Subaru of Pembroke Pines. Save today with our 3 ways to save. 0% financing, 0 down payment, or make no payments for 90 days from Subaru of Pembroke Pines.
Hi, this is Jeff Welt from Welton Rayom. Dan and I have been in business together for over 22 years. We're not your typical lawyers. When Dan's not working in the office, he's flying his stunt plane. When I'm not in the office, I'm either getting tattooed, bowling, riding a motorcycle, or going to concerts. We might not be your typical attorneys, but we are aggressive attorneys, and we'll do whatever it takes to get you what you deserve. Consultations are always free. Call us anytime, 24/7.
Welton Rayom can help.
If you're looking to take your home or business to the next level, then RM Contractors can assist you. RM specializes in new residential turnkey, new commercial turnkey, home and office remodeling. Call them for free estimates. Serving all of South Florida, licensed and insured. Call Ray, 305-345-3649. You work hard to create the perfect atmosphere. You dream it, we'll build it. RM Contractors, 305-345-3649 or Instagram at RMC Fisher Island.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on a new Acura ADX. $239 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
The viewpoint statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. The game is final. Tua and the boys are in the locker room. Let's go over what happened in this game in our Dolphins Postgame Show with Big O. The Postgame Show is brought to you by Welton Rayom, Acura of Pembroke Pines, Hialeah Park Casino, Toyota of Hollywood, RM Contractors. The stats are final. The insiders are ready. The platform is mastered by the one and only Sean Stanley. Now, let's find out what the Big O thinks about this matchup as we start our Dolphins Postgame Show. Here's Big O.
All right. Howdy, folks. I guess the funeral starts now, right? I mean, it was kind of dead from the get-go, but I guess it's official now. Nail in the coffin, season over, 7-10. Mike McDaniel still sucks. The Dolphins continue to head nowhere under Stephen Ross. Nothing has changed in 15 years of his ownership, unfortunately, since he bought the team in 2009. It's kind of been the status quo. Actually, it's interesting that he put out the statement last year that the status quo wasn't acceptable, but the status quo has been the status quo for 15 years. And today they end the season 7-10. Not for nothing, but again, I know I'm like the bad guy always, and I get it. That's fine, dude. I've dealt with this for decades in town, but I told you it would suck, right? Didn't I tell you this season would suck? In the entire offseason, when they constructed the roster, I told you it would suck. And then by the end of the offseason, what was the prediction for the season? 7-10. So both predictions right on target. Sean Stanley, what do we play when we hit on all those predictions? No, not a victory cigar. There's no victory there. I didn't enjoy a victory. What's wrong with you? You don't have it anymore or something? Did you make it disappear? Is it gone?
The Sportstradamus has spoken.
Now we're talking. You see? Now we're talking. Terrible. I wish I was wrong. I'd rather enjoy a 10-7 season or an 11-6 season, and you guys calling me, hey, you're a moron, you're an idiot, you thought the season was going to suck. I would have a lot more fun with that. Being like the donkey or the clown of the whole show, and take the brunt of the whole thing. I don't mind being the lightning rod. I've dealt with that my whole life, so that's nothing new. But I wish I wasn't right on this, man. But unfortunately, we kind of had the season that we thought we were going to have, at least for us on the show here. We never filled you up with any kind of silliness about playoffs or anything like that. Mike McDaniel is a guy that does not deserve to be employed. The only reason he's employed, it's because we have an owner in Stephen Ross. And, we played for you on the pregame show the comments of Tom Pelissero and of Adam Schefter. And if you read some of the other stuff that has gone on, none of it is uplifting whatsoever for us as a fan base, because the Dolphins need to be restructured top to bottom. We can't replace the owner. You and I would love to replace the owner. In a perfect world, we get the crazy ass Moss brothers to buy them, right? And they'll spend like crazy and they'll do whatever, and they wouldn't put up with any of this bullshit. Okay, I mean they screwed up a bunch of times to start off and they wasted no time trying to correct their mistakes. You gotta love it. Okay, like they screwed up a bunch right at the beginning, even got caught cheating and everything. And they dealt with it, whatever, and they moved on, dude. And they won a championship. Because they're driven mad to win. This is not a man that's driven mad. He's 85 at this point. You know what I mean? He's worried about, did I soil my diapers right now? That's kind of what he's, all about at this point in time in his life. And do a little waddle or whatever. Like I told you, and by the way, please listen to the pregame show, because the pregame show really wasn't a pregame show. It was really a Dolphin talk show, and I kind of broke down from beginning to end what's going on with the hierarchy and how it's kind of a joke what's going on and everything, even with Aikman and everything. So you may want to listen to it, because it's a different different than what we're doing right now. So you may want to check it out, please. And don't forget to smash the like button, please. Please smash the like button. And remember, visit our amazing sponsors, whether it's the Big Cheese, whether it's Caneswear, All Year Cooling, Welton Rayom, Sloman's Home Shield, Toyota of Hollywood, Laser Eye Center of Miami, Acura Pembroke Pines, Hialeah Park, Moody S Dental, Subaru of Pembroke Pines, Toyota of Hollywood. We got a bunch of sponsors. That's why they keep us around. EJD Construction, Fort Lauderdale United. Without the sponsors, we would not be able to be where we're at. So please make sure you visit our sponsors. It's the reason why we're able to be on every day and pretty much give you the more sensible approach to everything that's going on in sports here in South Florida. You know what I'm saying? So that is very important that you visit our sponsors. And of course, you can make a donation to the show, Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show, Cash App or Venmo. And we're in a frustrating situation right now because there is no light at the end of the tunnel. We're hearing that it's more about keeping Mike McDaniel than cleaning house. And when you hear about everybody that's involved in the GM search, it's not really a group that, I'm sorry, it's just not really up to snuff. It doesn't make you feel very good about it. It's almost like we're hoping for dumb luck. And we don't have lotteries here. So your position in the draft, it is what it is. It wasn't really going to change much today, but you're probably going to be stuck right around 11, 10, whatever it is. It's not a big deal. You weren't going to try to win the lottery and then land the number one pick and then, oh, wow, okay. And even that, as I've said earlier, this team is not a quarterback away. They're an entire culture away. They need a proper team president. They need a real, well, not on the football side. They need a real GM that is making all the decisions, which is not really what they're looking for. They need a great head coach, somebody who knows how to put together not just a roster, but a culture, and that's kind of what the GM and the head coach are all about. And it sounds like you're playing, like I've said before, again, listen to the pregame show because there's a lot on that one. It's human Jenga, and that's what he has played for his entire existence as the owner. He slips one block out and puts one other human block in there. And that's unfortunately what he's been doing since he's been the owner of the Miami Dolphins. And it hasn't worked, and he doesn't get it. And that's why we're in this situation on a consistent basis. Because right now, as I told you on the show earlier this week, or maybe even the week before, is when I got the information from the building. Basically, it's a building where people are saving their asses. And then everybody's kissing ass to the old man because they're kind of hanging on to their jobs. And so that's why you'll hear things like from Pelissero, oh, they're looking for a scout. Well, no. Then that's not exactly what they need. They need a culture change. They need a Pat Riley to take over. They need their Bill Zito, I'm sorry. They need a guy that really takes over, whether it's a John Lynch that took over, whether it's an Ozzie Newsome that took over. They need somebody that takes over the football operations, whether it's Ron Wolf. You need something along those lines, right? And, whether it's Snead and McVay, how they work together, this is super important. These are things that end up working the right way. It's it's sad that Stephen Ross is not willing to look in the mirror. And he is willing to surround himself with people that he likes. And, but Brandon Shore is a numbers cruncher. Tom Garfinkel is the only guy that should be safe, but he's the team president. He runs the business side, and he does a phenomenal job. But it's just, he shouldn't be part of football. And it's just, there's issues here, and they forget, they refuse to address them. And because, now he's got his son-in-law next to him making decisions and decide, who the hell is his son-in-law? That's stupid. Why? Because he's married to his daughter? So this is why. And this is just nepotism. This is just rich bullshit that goes on. None of these people are trained to be this. Stephen Ross should not be anywhere near. By now, 15 years in, and at his age, he should have figured out, maybe I don't need to be a part of any of this. I just need to hire somebody and delegate to them, And then, hey, we've decided on this candidate over this candidate. And, Steve, here, let's give you a little overview just to, and his son-in-law. Why should he be a part of any of this shit? But this is what it is. This is what rich people do. And unfortunately, the Dolphins' fate lies with people that are not trained to do this. And they're not good at this. And guess what? Look at the 15-year history of Stephen Ross. Like last year in the Colts game, I wanted McDaniel fired last year in the Colts game. I was done with him at that point. I was over with him, okay? And I said, go after Vrabel. And, that's a nice pipe dream. But when you really think about it, let's say you fire McDaniel last season right after the Colts game like I wanted. And then you turn your attention right away to Vrabel, who's out there. Probably would have turned you down. Yeah, I'll think about it. Let me see my options in the offseason, because he probably would have looked at the Patriots and said, well, wait a minute, they've got a young quarterback, and I like this, and I know the owner there and all that. He probably would have turned it down, even though I want, that's my dream would have been last year to do that. By the way, in good news, Bitcoin's at 92,000. That's good news right there. That's good news right there. That's good news. If you get Bitcoin, that's good news. That's a key decision. And, in every game for the Dolphins, even in a loss, even when the Boston Massacre takes over in a 38-10 loss, there is a Sloman's key decision to the game. And let's tell you what that is.
What was the deciding moment? Who made the right move? Where did the game change? It's the Sloman's key decision of the game. Make the smart decision to protect your home and family by calling Sloman's at 1-800-ALARM-ME, serving Americans for nearly 100 years. Here's our Sloman's key decision of the game.
A lot of people talk shit about the extensions for the Miami Dolphins, and they say that most of them they haven't worked out. All of them haven't worked out. I disagree. I think Zack Sieler's contract has worked out. I think Zack Sieler has been an absolute stud, a professional, a character guy, a leader, a winner. Never complains, never points fingers, was given a really tough job this year with 3 rookies next to him, and it took away everything from him because he was going to be double teamed, and it took half a season for the rookies to finally start figuring it out and open up things for him. And since then, he's had his sacks. He had the blocked field goal today, got it with the elbow and everything. To me, Zack Sieler is a terrific player, an awesome player, worth every penny that they're paying him. because this team doesn't have enough Zack Sielers. If we had a bunch of Zack Sielers, yeah, they would probably be in the playoffs. And so you need people like this. You don't have enough of these kind of people. And those three young guys got better throughout the year because they've got that sumbitch next to him. And they're watching what he does, how he prepares. And if you think about it, how priceless Zack Sieler is. Sure, you're paying him for what he does on the field, but you're paying him for what he does in the locker room. You're paying for him during the offseason and in training camp and all of that. These three young cats are watching what a real pro does. And so we see a lot of promise on all three guys throughout the year. Are they finished products? No. Dude, I saw Paul Soley. I take 3 years to figure it out. Defensive tackles are kind of weird animals. They all don't take it. Listen, if they were picked like really early in the draft, then maybe we could talk about it, but they're not. They're not picked top 5 or some like Jalen Carter or something you're supposed to take off. These guys, there's a reason why they weren't picked early on, right? So they've got some holes in their game. They'll figure it out, but they showed enough that you're like, okay. And because of Zack Sieler, to me, I think that's part of the improvement from those guys. And so while he didn't have, let's say, the 10-sack season like he's had the last couple of years, I understand. What did Sieler end up with this year? Did he end up with 4 or 5 or something like that? Let me see. Let me check out his stats because he didn't get a sack today. So he ended up with 5.5 sacks. Okay, he had 10 last year, 10 the year before. So this is his third best year, actually. All right. So I understand. And I think that once one of those guys settles in, and then maybe some of the others will help out in depth, I think you'll see next year he'll get back to the 10 sacks, right away. Because he'll have an experienced, group now next to him that will be ready for next year. And he's going to look a lot better. Football is a very complementary sport. And a lot of times you need multiple people in order to get the job done. If you only have one defensive end, it makes it hard on that one defensive end. If the other side cannot produce any kind of pressures or anything, then they know to load up on one guy. You know what I mean? And so maybe sometimes on backs too, you have one back that's not Derrick Henry. Maybe they kind of wear down and you want to have a second back to kind of, these things evolve in all different areas of football, and defensive tackles no different. To me, Zack Sieler is one contract that has been well worth it because in a shit season, it's nice to have the Jordan Brooks of the world. It's nice to see guys like a Devon Achane. It's nice to see the guys that at least give us something that we're going to watch every week. After all, you've been watching year after year with no hope of anything, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? Maybe we try, we're hopeful, we want what's best, but they haven't produced anything in decades. And we continue to watch. Well, Zack Sieler keeps us watching. Thanks to Zack Sieler, it gives me something to watch when I'm watching Dolphins football. And there's a couple of guys like that on the team. So out of all the contracts that have been a disaster, and there's a lot of them, unfortunately, this is one that I will say 100% it is worth every single penny because he means so much in every way, shape, and form to the organization. And by the way, so will Sloman's, because when you got a single app that you can control the lights, the climate, the door locks, the music, the blinds, the TV, just about anything in your home, that's the beauty. And by the way, we're in 49 of 50 states. Please call our friends at Sloman's, 1-800-ALARM-ME. Ask them about ShieldLink so you can add it to your home and tell them that you heard it on the Big O Show. 1-800-ALARM-ME. Think about it. It's hot and, you get home and then the house is hot. Then you got to turn on the AC and wait for it to cool down a half hour later or something. Now you can actually hit the AC from your phone. Somebody leaves the door unlocked, you'll get a sensor, you can lock the door. It's a beautiful thing. or vice versa. You live up north and it's cold as hell. You want to turn on that heater before you get home, turn it on. You got a half-hour drive, 40 minutes. Boom, you get home, the house is warm. ShieldLink can help you in so many different ways. You're going to be home away from the house. You're going to arrive a little late. Well, maybe you want to put a little action in your house, turn on some lights so people think you're home, that kind of stuff. You can do all of that. You got dogs like we do. We got 4 dogs. We got 2 big-ass dogs that are cruising around all over the house. I've got cameras inside the house. ShieldLink allows me to look inside and outside my home to find out what's going on. And normally I know people don't have cameras inside the home, but us dog people, we're a different breed, like dogs. You know what I mean? We treat them like kids, so we put cameras inside because we have to follow. We got to make sure they're not making a mess too. You know what I'm saying? So ShieldLink also helps me from the mess. You know what I mean? So it kind of helps out. Reach out to them. 1-800-ALARM-ME. And I got to tell you, forget about it, man. Zack Sieler, worth every single penny. He is definitely one of our key decisions of the game, of the week, of the season for his career.
Our key decision of the game is brought to you by Sloman's Home Shield. When you want to protect your home, family, or business, call Sloman's at 1-800-ALARM-ME.
All right. Don't forget, hit the like button, please. Smash the hell out of the like button. It's very important. We're going to have a very interesting offseason. I don't know what direction we're going in. It's going to be, again, I don't bullshit you guys. I don't do, I'm not going to blow any kind of smoke up your asses. I'm a real Dolphins fan. I'm going to watch no matter what, dude. It doesn't matter to me. But I think we're headed if we're headed in the right direction, okay? I'm trying to be hopeful here, even though it may not sound as hopeful. If we're headed in the right direction, okay, they're going to have serious cap issues for the next 2 years that you want to kind of get out of. Okay, you do that. While you do that, the drafts that you have, make sure you are as great as you can be on them so you can hit on them and develop the players that you already have and over the next 2 drafts. I tell you what I would do. I was thinking about this. This is what I would do. Okay? And follow me on this. Okay? I would treat the Dolphins like an expansion team. Follow me on this. Follow me. I told you, we're in for a shitstorm the next 2 years because of cap issues. It's going to limit the Dolphins. Okay, fine. No problem. We've dealt with worse. Whatever. We're like Scarface. You can't do anything to us that the Dolphins have not done already. So, somebody put on the thing, are you in for another rebuild? Do I have a choice? Where am I going? Do I give up on my team or something? Do all of a sudden I have a favorite team and I'm going to give up on them and move over to another team? No, dude, no. I spoke my piece. Born in Belle Glade, raised here in South Florida my entire life. I spoke my piece. I'm not going anywhere. This is what I would do. This is something that you're not going to hear from anybody because, of course, the Dolphins have no fucking vision. And so, they're losers. So here's what I would do. I know I've got my cap issues for the next 2 years, but I know I also have a boatload of picks. So I would try to find myself the best general manager possible along with Mike McCarthy. Follow me on this. I'm not a big Mike McCarthy guy like long term, but I need my Renee Latchman. I need my Kevin Lockery. I need a guy that has been through it, is decently successful, not a bad coach, not an average coach. He's actually slightly above average, let's say, Mike McCarthy. Nobody can ever say Mike McCarthy's a bad coach. Solid coach, decent coach. So now I get a solid, decent coach, a good man around my players for the next 2 years through rough waters, right? Give him an opportunity to coach up the team, whatever he could do. Yeah. I'm expansion mode. Follow me on this. Those of you that are old enough, you might know what I'm talking about. So I just need you to get me to a certain plateau. So I know I'm not winning shit next year or even the year after that, but I have a chance of developing a nice core. And if I have a guy who fundamentally is a decent coach, can put together a decent staff, can guide him through this stuff, I give him a chance to prove himself. I'm sure he'll do a decent job, but in the end, he's probably not going to wow me, but he gets me through the storm. And in year 3, that's when I either give him a chance or I make my move. And I go get my Marcus Freeman, who hung out in Notre Dame for 2 more years, and I give him the world, or whoever the hot coach is at that moment. I then look for that person, because then that's my springboard to then take off. You're not going to get that person now, because the top coach, the top college coach, the top GM knows the shitstorm that's coming for the next 2 years. I know there's that, I don't know, it's like a 30% of the fan base that is like a blind ass fan, and they think every year it's going to be great. Oh no, this year here, everybody thinks it's going to be bad. That's why it's going to be good. And then next year they'll tell you the same thing. Oh no, come on, you can't give up on the season and all that. And it's like, I'm not giving up on anything, bro. I'm just telling you what's going to go on. What I think is going to happen. You can go ahead and, if you want to go to the wishing well, you go to the wishing well, my brother. That's fine, brothers and sisters, if that's what you want, but I'm not doing that. So I would probably get like a guy that I can like kind of get through this, not McDaniel, but somebody that at least is a decent culture setter, a guy that's been a part. He actually, in the chaotic world of the Cowboys, he actually didn't do a terrible job. He did a decent job. And that's kind of what I need right now, because at this point, the upper echelon of those candidates are not going to consider the Miami Dolphins. I know some of you fans out there are like, oh my God, Orlando, don't say that about our team. Everybody wants to play for the Dolphins. Everybody lines up for the Dolphins. Nobody gives a shit about the Dolphins. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at. And well, do they have that kind of vision? No, of course not, because it's just, they're stupid. But as much as I would want to hit the home run and go get a Joe Brady right now, and Joe Brady, if he's looking for a head coaching job, he's not going to take this job. When he knows there's hell for 2 years, he doesn't have a quarterback, his record is going to be shit, it's going to stain him, and it's going to make it even harder for him. So if you could get out of the cap mess, load up the picks, get a very good general manager, personnel guy, and then have a McCarthy like under him, I would think that that's something that can get you through the storm. And then if you're setting up the whole playbook, McCarthy surprise you, you keep him. He doesn't, you go find that hot hand 3 years from now. That's what I would do. Because right now, as much as I want Marcus Freeman or Joe Brady, Marcus Freeman already said he's going back to Notre Dame. Plus, he wasn't going to come here. He'll take the Tennessee or the Giants job before he takes ours. Or, maybe even somebody else he'll take because of Stephen Ross. Again, the record, 15, 16 years, whatever it is, since 2009. Stephen Ross has never brought in an elite general manager, an elite head coach. So how am I supposed to think you're going to get it now? But a Mike McCarthy will take the job because he's kind of desperate for the job at this point. And it's better than what you have, and it can kind of get you through these rough years right now. Is he long-term? No. But he can be my Renee Latchman until I get my Jim Leland. He can be my I said it before in basketball. Jesus, what was the name of the guy before we got we got Riley and stuff? Oh, anyway.
You said Lockery,
Kevin Lockery. Get me to that point. Okay, now we're kind of a playoff team. Okay, Kevin, you've kind of gotten us through the storm. You kind of got us through the rough waters. Let's go get our guy now that we're ready to take that next step. But that's vision. That's me seeing this experience, living all this shit for my whole life pretty much, and being a part of this business for 36 years. Where you're at right now, Miami Dolphins, what's realistic to expect, that kind of stuff. Instead, you're just going to play human Jenga and you're just going to look for a scout. And so it's a shame. It really is a shame because we have an incredible fan base worldwide. They're everywhere. They're super loyal, just like I am, but they're super pissed, just like I am. And we get no satisfaction ever, dude. Ever. Nothing ever goes right for us. And that's because we have bad leadership. Smash the like button. Let's go. Over 500 watching. We got 189 likes. Come on, man. You guys can easily get it to 300-400. Get that counter go. Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo. We love the super chats, but YouTube takes 30%. So we only get 70 as a show. So Cash App or Venmo, we get 100%. Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Let's go to the Venmo. Let's see. Here we go. Joe Cracchiola, thank you, sir, for the love on Venmo. Big O, if the reason for keeping McD is the team didn't quit on him, well, today they did. Looking forward to complete house cleaning to get rid of this town of incompetence. I need a shower. Love the show. Thank you. I just doesn't seem like they're going to get rid of it. McD's press conference is scheduled for Monday. Tomorrow he will have his Monday press conference, so there will be no Black Monday. Listen to the pregame show, and I explained to you why he's probably going to survive because of, the reasons why. It's sad. It's sad. And the players didn't quit because they have character. You know what I mean? Jordan Brooks plays because he has character and he's injured. He's not playing for Mike McDaniel. He's playing because he's a stinking professional, dude. And because it means to him. Yes, sir.
Now, to add more to that, during the post-game conference, he said one of the things he wants to work on this offseason will be winning in the third quarter, since they were dominated coming out of the locker room this whole season. That's one of the things he majorly wants to work on during the offseason.
There you go. That's just a professional that cares about what he does. Achane is going to run the way he runs, not because of Mike McDaniel or anything like that. Guys are going to play who they are because of how they're Sieler, whatever. It's how they're cut, dude. It's who they are. It's what you're supposed to do. And thank you, Joe. Appreciate you, my brother. Anthony, we're the Lizzies. Thank you, sir. He says, well, we are officially out of our misery for the moment, though I fear it may continue. I hear all these Dolphin experts saying McD is likely to stay. What am I missing? Is Ross that dumb? Thank you, Big O, for being a bright spot in this eternal torment of being a Fins fan. Thank you, sir, for your generosity and your support. I appreciate you, Anthony. I can't answer Ross, man. I can't figure out what he's thinking. None of you can. None of us can. It's baffling what the old man is thinking. And like I'm telling you, now his son-in-law, who has no experience whatsoever, but because he married his daughter and he's going to be the owner, well, you could step in and start making mistakes early on with me. Anthony, thank you, my brother, for the love on Venmo. Peter German, appreciate you as always, sir. Thank you. Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo, and you can make a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and Solana donation too. Put another season in the books, my friend. It ended with the same coaching, technical issues it began with. Please throw out the entirety of this dumpster fire from top to bottom. I can't honestly say what we have is in talent because I think it's so misused. Exactly. And there's talent there. There's talent there, but you need real direction, real coaching. And this dude is not real coaching. Okay? All right? And Bitcoin hit 93,000. We just hit 92. Now we're hitting 93. Hey, this post game is kicking ass, baby. Yes, sir, Sean Stanley.
Omar Kelly sends out, walking out of the post-game meeting with Stephen Ross and Mike McDaniel was CEO Tom Garfinkel, executive Brandon Shore, interim GM Champ Kelly, who personally spoke to players after the game. You know who left early, possibly before the Ross McDaniel talk? Dan Marino.
Who?
Dan Marino.
Oh, well, listen to the pregame show.
No,
listen to the pregame show, please. You must listen to the pregame show. If you want to get a really good feel for the Dolphins and the GM search, please listen to the pregame show. Okay? Full breakdown. You'll, like, when you're done with it, you're going to go, oh, shit. Okay? Just telling you. Okay? I wish I had better news, but I don't. Brian Nobles, thank you for the love on Cash App, sir. He says Cats won at least. Dude, they beat the Avalanche, bro. The Avalanche have like 2 losses this year, right? Where is it? Yes, 31-2-7, dude. Yes, the Panthers are awesome, man. It's interesting. The beginning of the season, the Panthers had all these injuries, and I told everybody, dude, this is going to be the sweetest playoff run for them because they'll get healthy as the season goes on. They're super deep. They're strong enough to weather the storm. Now the second half of the season comes. We're going to get Kachuk healthy and get him back. And by the way, I don't like him playing the Olympics, but I will say there's a little positive to it. When he jumps into the Olympics and he gets out, he's going to be ready and in a groove for the rest of the run and the playoff run and all that. So that's actually going to be a positive for that. So he kind of breaks the ice in that sense. And he won't carry as many minutes in the Olympics as he will with the Panthers. So it really will prepare him for it. That's the only positive. I still don't like that he risks injury there and not playing for the whatever. There's going to be a break anyway. But just kind of cool. In that sense, and they can weather this storm, dude. They can weather this storm, and see. But it's different. I know I can see the Panthers top to bottom. When I look at our Dolphins, it's sad. But this is kind of what we live with, unfortunately. So, Brian, thank you, sir, for the love on Cash App, or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo. And, of course, you can send in those questions, comments, and insults, as you can see. Let's get to the Super Chats. What do we have here? Let's get to it. True Fin fan, exactly what I saw coming. Keep them, huh? Pathetic. I know, it's ridiculous, True Fin fan. And thank you, sir, for the love. Next up. No doubt. He says, you got another rebuild in you. I got no choice. No doubt. I got no choice. I mean, it's my team. I'm not going to dump them, but I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm going to be completely honest. Hey, this is good. This is bad. I don't like this. I love this. I kind of like the Aikman thing because he's the only guy that really has a football background out of the group that's there. But it's kind of limited with what you're doing with him. And your search is also kind of limited. And again, listen to the pregame show because I don't want to go through the whole thing all over again, but listen to the pregame show. Next up. Man of 1,005 hosts. So Ross brings in the guy making fun of his product as a consultant and wants to keep McDaniel. What an idiotic owner. He'll never get it. Yeah. but it's a check for Troy Aikman. So, Troy gets a little experience watching the whole GM process and watching GM's interview, and then he can start to work his way because then he'll be one of those GMs interviewing. It's genius by Troy, and he's getting paid to go and watch the process himself. Genius. Troy and his agent sat down and killed this, baby. As the youngsters would say, you killed it. Okay? I'm telling you, that is so smart because he wants to get into football operations. So he has that. So now he's like exploring the beginning stages of it because he will be one of those guys being interviewed down the line. That's his plan. Next up, we have Andrew Watson. Thank you, sir. The Boston Strangler or Dangler. Oh, he's the Boston Dangler. Okay. The Patriots dangled their hot dog all over us like a disgusting meme. McSchlon, our head coach, was running his typical unsynchronized dolphin swimming operation. We need a head coach with McNuts, not one cuddled up with his earmuffs. I would agree with that, Andrew Watson. And I love the poem. Fantastic. Great work on there. I love it, dude. Thank you, sir. Appreciate the super chat. Next up, Sean, what do we got? We go with 96 Poochie. What more does this owner need to see with this coach? He gets blown down out 4 out of 5 times a year. That does not happen to a good coach. I don't know. And every year, this loser has underachieved with every roster that he's had. He's supposed to have won more games with every roster he's had, including this one, last year's roster, the year before. He has underachieved every single year. And that is, the brutal honesty of the whole situation. Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo. George Gutierrez, thank you for the love on Cash App, sir. He says, thank God the season is over. I'm with you. I am grateful that the season is over to a certain extent. I love Dolphin football. No matter how much it sucks, I love Dolphin football. But yeah, this kind of suffering, dude, it kind of gets old. So I'm with you. I get it. And, I watch preseason. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not going to practices anymore. I'm done with that. There'll be no more training camp for me anymore. I am completely done with that. I stopped last year, and I told you guys I'm not going back until they go win playoff games for a couple of years. And then I'll go, I'm not wasting my time anymore, my sweat, my time, all that to, be uncomfortable. And most of the time I can't even use the material anyways there because of all the restrictions that there are. So it's just, it's not worth it for me. But I have, I'll watch, I'll cheer, but it's rough, dude. It's rough to see what's gone on. Peter German, thank you, sir, for the love on Venmo. He says, McDaniel and Ross waiting to fix anything makes me get out the sword and disbowel myself. Bonsai. I get it, bro. I get it. And the fact that Ross and his son-in-law are leading the charge, it's kind of a joke. Hateful Steve is in the house. Thank you, sir. He says, thanks for another great season of coverage, Joe. What's more likely to come Monday, Bitcoin hitting 95K or McDaniel getting hosed? Oh, God, Bitcoin hitting 95K. Yeah. It looks like something's a brewing because since the first, we've been moving on Bitcoin. It was at 87, and we've been moving since the first. So we've had 4 days now, and we have moved like $6,000. So not bad. as we are right around 93 right now, which I'll take. That's for damn sure. I'm happy about that. All right, what's next on the super chats? Anthony Kyle Campos, Finn's 2026 season movie is the Titanic. You know, to spin it for you a little bit, I know I'm Mr. Negative. It doesn't have to be the Titanic. You could take the next 2 years in a rebuild mode and get people excited by drafting the right players and starting to build a nucleus and a culture. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't have to be so doom and gloomish. Now, if you keep bringing back the same buffoons, it's doom and gloomish. You know, because once you brought back McDaniel, look, I told the people that got fired, I mean, you know, they got fired because they hung on to that guy and they hired that guy and they hired Flores before that. But by the way, they gave enough talent to this guy to get more results and he didn't get it, but it's their fault. And now you hung on to him and sure enough, it's going to cost people jobs. And eventually you'll fire him. If you don't fire him this year, you'll fire him next year. But it's not like McDaniel's going to get any better, dude. The same mistakes happened for 4 years. So it makes zero sense. All right, let's get to it, baby. The one and only Chris Perkins is ready. He is locked and loaded with our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins post-game report.
Time to go to the locker room, Miami Dolphins fans. Let's find out what's percolating with the one and only Chris Perkins in our EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins post-game report.
Percolator, what's happening?
Big O, 7-10, baby. Here we are. Double-digit losses for the first time since 2019. Let's see where they go from here, Big O.
I know. That was my prediction, by the way, 7-10.
It was. I know. You nailed it. I was 9-8. 2 games off. I don't give myself credit for being close. 2 games. 1 game, I give myself credit. 1 game either way. 2 games, yeah, you should be closer than that. So shame on me.
Better was Manny Navarro. He nailed the Ohio State score, 24-14.
Yeah, look at Manny. Manny's a stud. So yeah, Manny's a stud. That's it.
That's some G shit right there, bro.
Yep.
That's some G shit because he made people money. I mean, like right there, he made you money.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
You know, you can't complain when the writer's making you money too.
That's right. Exactly. That's great stuff there. Good job, Manny.
What do we do, bro? Because all the reports are that basically the way I read it, the way I understand when I hear Pelissero on one side, when I hear Schefter on another, talk about this kind of stuff, I basically look at it this way. Well, if Tomlin or Harbaugh land in our lap, well, then we'll hand them the keys to the kingdom. But right now we're just looking for a scout. We're looking for a human. We're pulling out the human Jenga. We pulled out the Chris Greer, and now we're going to put in another human Jenga. We're just going to slide in some guy that's a scout because we have everything else in place because, our franchise is just fantastic top to bottom.
Right.
I kind of feel that you are setting yourselves up to limit your search because there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to be in line to just kind of be a cog when you're supposed to have kind of a GM title, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's tough to say how this organization is going to be structured, if there's going to be any parameters on the GM search, any parameters, meaning you have to take Mike McDaniel, any parameters on a coaching search, if there is a coaching search. My thing, Big O, I think they should take a broom to the whole thing, and not necessarily because the top 3 or the big 3, meaning GM, head coach, quarterback, not necessarily because they suck, but because you need fresh perspective, you need fresh ideas. What you were doing for the last 4 years was not working. And so you need to get a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of ideas. It's kind of why I kind of like the Troy Aikman thing, because look, you need to go outside the organization, because people in the organization have certain thoughts. They have a certain way of doing things, certain things they're comfortable with. You need to be a little bit uncomfortable. You need to get out of this comfort zone that keeps you mired in mediocrity, right? 8-9 and 7-10. So I really don't know what's going to happen. My gut is that Mike McDaniel will be back and that you will have a new GM and a new quarterback. But I hope they take a broom to the top three, just so they can get a new way of thinking, so they don't have the shackles of a past organization on them.
I like the Troy Aikman move to a certain extent, because he's the only guy out of this group that actually goes around the league.
Yep.
Actually is at practices for almost every team the last few years, every team pretty much. And he hangs out for 2 days watching practice, talking to personnel director, college director, calling head coach, whatever. He's in a production meeting every week with each side. Okay. And then he's watching the game and all that kind of stuff. So he's been doing that for several years now. So he's got a real inside track. But then I start to look and I start to say, Stephen Ross is part of this decision, which do I really want Stephen Ross? And then because he married his daughter, well, Danny Silman is now the son-in-law.
Yep.
You know, because he's got this extensive history in the NFL of finding people. And, you know, Tom Garfinkel, who is a marvelous businessman and has done incredible work with the business side. I don't need him on the football decision. Brandon Shore, one of the many people in that building that are trying to save their asses. And he has, and he's a numbers guy. I really need you in this. And then Dan Marino, God bless him. They handed him the GM job. He ran away from it like a bird building. And I get it, bro. Dan Marino has earned the world to be hanging out for the rest of his life and all that. And that's what he wants to do. He wants to be the guy that strolls into the building at any time he wants. Hey, Dan, what do you think about this QB? And he looks at it for 5 minutes. Yeah, no, whatever. And he walks out, and that's it. He's not there to do any real work, and he doesn't go around the league, and he's not meeting with people or any of that.
Right.
I look at that overall group, and I look at Aikman, and he's not really taking over. He's just kind of contributing. I just see a lot of room for error in this whole thing, because there's too many people. There's too many chiefs, too little Indians, too many chefs in the kitchen, whatever it is. And most of these people are unqualified to make this decision.
Yeah, that's what I think could be a big detriment, is that you have too many decision makers. I hope, Big O, when we talk about the GM search, that they only interview 3 or 4 people. I don't want to see 5 or 6 people being interviewed, 5 or 6 people making the decision, because, things get too convoluted that way. I also wonder, Big O, where was Troy Aikman on Steve Ross's pecking order? My guess, and I'm just guessing here, I've poked around, I haven't heard any answers. My guess is maybe he called Jimmy Johnson first, and Jimmy said, "No, I'm chilling in the Keys, but talk to my boy Troy. He can help you out." I would just be I wouldn't be confident if Troy Aikman was Steve Ross's first call, right? Because you would think,
I got a better one for you, doggy. I know what's really going on here. Troy wants to become a GM.
I've heard that.
Exactly. You know what this sumbitch is doing? He got in the door now, and he's going to watch GM's interview for this job, and he's going to learn about that part of it. And he's going to get paid while he's learning about this. And at the same time, he'll offer his expertise to the Dolphins. Whether it works or not, he doesn't give a shit. He's just consulting. He's not going to be a general manager. He's not here. He's not next season going to be here and going to be in that room, in that suite next to Stephen Ross. You know, oh my God, on every – no, he's just going to consult and he's going to leave. But at the same time, he's going to get some priceless experience as he tries to now evolve into that position like Lynch did down the line. So that's what I think he's doing, that he's doing two things, kind of consulting and trying to get into that part. And at the same time, he's going to watch GMs do what he wants to do down the line.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that he's going to end up being the top candidate and maybe hire himself. But I don't know. I don't know what his intention is here. I will say that, I hope that Troy has some good connections around the league as far as GM, and this isn't, hey, I like this guy, I'm going to get my boy a job. I hope there's not any, homerism or nepotism here, but let's face it, a lot of this league and a lot of life is who you know, right? I don't know who Troy knows and who he's close to as far as assistant GM or player personnel director at Team X or Team Y or Team Z. You hope that personal, allegiances and things like that don't come into play here, but they will at some level. Like that's how most hires are made in most professions, right? That I know this guy, or he went to Texas, I went to Texas, or whatever. We're both Canes, or we're both Gators, or something. We played for Jimmy Johnson, or I know how this guy thinks. I'm usually skeptical, Big O, with the TV guys. The TV guys, because the owners are so impressed by Louis Riddick and JJ Redick and all, because you're never wrong on TV, right? You're never wrong on TV. And so that's, trusting Troy, hopefully you're trusting Troy because he's a Super Bowl winning quarterback and not because he sounds so good on TV. Hopefully, like you say, you're trusting Troy because he's been around the league interviewing people and sitting in on these production meetings, and not just because, I like the way he sounds on TV when he's there with Joe Buck. Anybody can sound smart on TV. So I hope the Dolphins can outrun the Dolphins thinking, right? That old Dolphins way of thinking. I hope this is a new way of thinking.
Well, and as I remind everybody, look at Tom Brady's been at the Raiders 2 years, and let's see, how did that Pete Carroll hire go for Tom Brady? By the way, did he say to trade a third rounder for Geno Smith and give him the money? I'm just. By the way, how did that Austin Genty draft pick? Because he did put up good numbers. Oh, and by the way, didn't he the whole Chip Kelly thing, highest offensive coordinator, and you fired him 1 year in? Just because you're a 7-time Super Bowl winner, doesn't necessarily mean you know what the hell you're doing. So, Troy Aikman, I know he's a 3-time Super Bowl winner, but I'm just saying, take it easy there, because Matt Millen had all the answers in the booth.
Right. Exactly. So we'll see. Yeah, you definitely want more John Elway than Matt Millen, right?
Yeah, and John Elway won a Super Bowl, and yet John Elway had to leave town and get out of it already because he couldn't find a damn quarterback on his own. Yeah, he signed Peyton Manning, which doesn't take any skill, but the poor man, draft after draft, he would fail every time. And this is John freaking Elway. You know what I mean? And Lynch has actually done a nice job.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job.
Yeah. So, it could work out sometimes, but, a lot of times it becomes Magic Johnson. It becomes many other guys. I mean, the list is long of former players just absolutely bombing out in these positions. So how do you sell it as a writer, and how does the team sell it as a team if you bring back Mike McDaniel?
Boy, I that's a good question. I don't know how, I've been saying, if you're Steve Ross, what in the hell do you tell your fans as to why they should buy tickets in 2026? Because if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm checking out. I'll circle back in 2027 when you have more talent and maybe there's a better plan, because, man, right now I don't know. Mike he is the picture of mediocrity, right? 35-33 record in the regular season, 35-35 if you include the 2 playoff losses. That's mediocrity defined, right? You're 500. You're coming off of back-to-back losing seasons. I just don't know what Steve Ross is going to tell fans. And look, I'm not even sure that a statement would work at this time. You almost need to actually speak to the fans. But as I've always said, Big O, if I'm the organization, if I'm media relations, I'm not letting Steve Ross get up there in front of a microphone on a podium, because the guy always sticks his foot in his mouth, always. And I would not let Steve Ross speak. Now, as a media member, I want this guy to speak. I almost demand that he speaks, right? But if I'm the organization, no, he's going to continue releasing statements, or he will speak through the national reporters, these little leaks, but if I'm a fan, I want my owner, I want Steve Ross up there speaking to me, telling me what has happened over the last 4 years and why 2026 is going to be different than 2025 or 2024. I would like to hear his explanation. I know what I would say. I would say that you do have some good young talent. You do have some potential that Mike McDaniel did kind of discover himself and his offense in the second half of the year. But as Chris Perkins, the journalist, I'm wondering, is that going to last with Mike McDaniel? Is he going to try to go to some other deep passing offense next year, even though you won't have Tua and you won't have Tyreek? I just think Mike is so in love with the Mike McDaniel image that he's going to go back to it. If I had an assurance that Mike was going to stick with a run-first offense, now I've got more faith as a fan and as a reporter that, okay, maybe this thing is going to turn around next year. Maybe you can win, 6, 7, 8 games after the draft and after free agency. And maybe in 2027, you can get back to the playoffs. But the Mike McDaniel that I know and think that I know, I'm not sure what that offense is going to look like. And so if I'm Steve Ross, that's a tough sell to the fans.
Maybe it's time for the Danny Silman era to get elevated. Maybe that's what they're doing now. Maybe since the old man is going to screw everything up, he's elevating the son-in-law to start, because he's done PR and stuff like that in sports.
Yeah. They need some kind of a voice out there. I think Champ Kelly would be a good voice. I don't know if he would be a good GM. But just looking at Champ, the way he goes around and daps players up, and Bradley Chubb was telling us this week that really the way that he and a lot of other players got to know Champ was when Champ got hired in March. Champ was coming off of a torn Achilles, and so he was in the rehab room with them. And, so that's really how they got to know Champ. And that Minka was saying that, he loves seeing Champ around the locker room and in the weight room. And Chubb was saying that Champ kept in touch with him at the trade deadline. These guys love Champ. I think Champ would be a good spokesperson, a good front man. But again, I'm not sure that he would be your best GM candidate. So, that you could take care of the PR aspect of it. But this league is about winning games.
Yeah, and you already said you're putting in a search, so you can't put him out there because he's not the guy. He's just interim at this point, and an interim has really no authority to go out there and talk about anything whatsoever. So,
and I'll say this, Big O. I'll say this,
nobody wants to hear from Shore, Tom Garfinkel. It has to be the owner, the only person.
Yep.
Really.
And, Mike McDaniel is scheduled to speak tomorrow at a season-ending press conference. Usually it's the GM and the coach, but Champ Kelly will not speak tomorrow. The interim GM will not speak. It's just going to be Mike McDaniel.
Right. And that makes sense because, again, he's not here for a permanent basis. He's only here to fill in. So you can't go put somebody out there that really can't speak on the future because they're not going to be a part of the future. At least, maybe, human Jenga, you absorb him also, new GM, like, hey, you're willing to work. Yeah, that's the whole thing. You might end up giving it to somebody so lower level that they're desperate to take the job, and they'll take it because it's an upgrade for them. Kind of.
Well, you hope it's not a situation like when they hired Mike McDaniel, where that was Mike's only interview for a head coaching job. You hope it's. And if it is like that at GM, then you better find lightning in a bottle. You better really be on the cutting edge. You discovered this guy before everybody else. But man, I hopefully it's some
McDaniel. Just like Mike McDaniel. You discovered that one. Nobody wanted him, and there you No, but that's what it sounds like to me, that you're going to get somebody's assistant college director of scouting, not the director of college scout. No, one of his assistants is what you're going to end up getting, something like that, because the director of college scouting is looking for a GM job, a real job, not human Jenga. So it is what it is. All right, follow him on Twitter at Chris Perk, and of course catch his exceptional work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Chris, as always, thank you, my brother. Appreciate you immensely.
All right, good season, Big O. Appreciate it.
You got it, my man. There you go. 305-433-4843. That's EJD Construction, folks. If you live in Dade and Broward County, except for condo owners, okay, it's home and businesses. And Eric has been at this for well over 20 years. AAA rating from the Better Business Bureau. Many of our listeners over the years, because he's been one of our sponsors for like 9 years or 10 years or something like that, maybe like 10 actually now. And great people. And this is why we're around, because we've got great sponsors. And if you need somebody that you can trust, his people are fully insured. So when they step onto your property, you won't have any worries. If you're looking to have an addition, you need to build an entire house, you need to build a second floor, you need a new roof. I don't care what it is you need. He's a full contractor. He can get anything done for you. 305-433-4843. Got a talented staff. He's not stopping at Home Depot and picking up a couple of dudes. No. This is a well-trained staff that goes there and gets the job done and does incredible work. Go to ejdconstruction.com. Look for them on Instagram, EJD Construction.
You've been listening to the EJDconstruction.com Miami Dolphins post-game report with the Sun Sentinel's Chris Perkins. For additions, home remodeling, and custom work, call Eric at 305-433-4843. EJDconstruction.com is the custom home builder and contractor you can trust. 305-433-4843.
All right. I'm not sure if David Furones is ready, or if he's searching for a bathroom, or he looks like a refugee reporter in some stadium that they've kicked him out, because I see him knocking all over on different doors. And, it's like, I'm not sure if he's ready. Oh, wait a minute. He sat down now. Okay. I think he was searching for food. That's what he was doing. There's no doubt about it, bro. And by the way, the Patriots, I experienced it. Not with the new stadium, because when I went the 3 times I went was the old stadium, but the food was always the best of any road trip that I ever went on the Dolphins. The Patriots had the best spread normally. I don't know how it is nowadays, but we'll find out. Because David Furones, oh, brother, if it's catered, it's covered. Let's go with our Welt and Rayom Miami Dolphins post-game report.
All rise, football fans, as the Welt and Rayom Miami Dolphins report with David Furones is in session.
Welton Rayom has more than 62 years of litigation experience handling insurance disputes. They are committed to resolving even the toughest insurance claims quickly. Call them for a free consultation. 954-966-4646. Here's Miami Dolphins insider David Furones.
All right. There he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is David Furones. I'm in a great mood because Bitcoin's up to 93,000. So it's just, I'm just in a great mood. So, I expected what I saw today, so the Boston Massacre was no surprise. Were you pleasantly surprised with viewers early, and then after you're like, well, that's why he's going to battle to be a backup? How did it work out for you today on Quinn Ewers?
No, and I can tell you're in a big mood, good mood, Big O. Quinn Ewers certainly pleasantly surprised early on. It kept the team in the game. They were driving to start the third quarter, which would have tied the game, and then throwing to the end zone I feel like he was in between two targets. He said he was throwing to Weiss, who was trailing, and then Taj Washington's man read it, came off of him, and was able to intercept it. So that's life in the NFL for him. That's life facing a tough defense and secondary on the road in the NFL. So learning lesson there. And then again, this team, just when it has something go wrong, then it all falls apart. This was just pretty much exactly like that Bengals game a couple of weeks back. Was with that one, it was the Theo Weiss penalty that then things just snowballed. The defense stops playing complementary with the offense once something goes wrong, and then Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. So that was the tale of this game. But ultimately, as you know, it's about the bigger picture here. And for Ewers, I mean, a guy who I could see, depending on what the Dolphins do at quarterback going forward, just as a player who should be competing with a fringe level NFL starting quarterback as far as just getting a chance for next season. So depends. I mean, maybe the Dolphins can put themselves in position where they draft a quarterback high in the draft, and then they would look another direction. Who knows who the GM is? So we don't know if they're going to like Quinn Ewers or they're going to be wanting to find something else. But someone who, if remains consistent, if Mike McDaniel's back, which we still have to find out about, then maybe this next permanent GM could see him as someone who could compete for a starting job. And then I believe Mike McDaniel would see it that way once the team moves on from Tua and probably brings in maybe like a fringe starter level quarterback that might be like a high end backup that let them compete, Ewers and whoever this other quarterback might be.
Yeah, for me, I'll stick to what I've thought from the get-go, from the offseason, from when they drafted him. I think he's a backup. I think that's kind of his ceiling, but I think he definitely proved that he's good enough to battle for the backup job. I get what you're saying. If you bring in a fringe starter and you have another half-ass, like you draft another kid in the 5th or 6th or 7th round, and then all you have is Ewers and that veteran, then, yeah, you might end up playing Ewers some and get him more experience. But in a perfect world, if you do get a legit starter, I think Ewers would be a guy that would be competing with somebody else to be the backup for me in my eyes. Now, just out of curiosity, did you see the Pelissero report on the whole on the GM search?
I've seen so many reports today. So what specifically?
Sean, if you play Pelissero, will he be able to see it and hear it with no problem? He should be able to, right? Let's you fire it off for him and see.
But he is going to sit in on the interviews here and probably ask certain types of questions that, whether it's Stephen Ross or his son-in-law, Danny Silman, who's involved, Tom Garfinkel, the president, Brandon Shore, who has a significant role in the front office as well, and Dan Marino, who's another Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback who is still employed by the Dolphins. All those guys will be a part of this process as they vet who the right general manager is going to be. What they're looking for in Miami is a scout. They want somebody who is really going to have a vision for how do you build that roster. They got a lot of resources. They have a patient owner. From everyone I've talked to, this is a good job walking into it here. But they want someone whose expertise is in team building. And so what I would anticipate is that the Dolphins move, I think, fairly swiftly through this process. I think they're going to hit the ground running next week. They've obviously got a 2-month head start since firing Chris Greer back on Halloween. The idea of Troy Aikman is not just to allow him to be part of the interview process, but also for him to make sure, okay, it's great to say, hey, we want to pluck somebody from, let's say, San Francisco, but who's the right person to pluck from there? That's where Troy has been involved in this process. And again, I anticipate that this is going to be a process that moves on the relatively quick side.
All right. So what did you read into that on what GM they want?
Oh, you have a specific name in mind? I mean, I agree with what I'm hearing.
No, I'm asking you to define what he just reported that the Dolphins want in their GM.
Yeah, I would say I agree with what he put out there, which was someone with a background in scouting. I think that's something that you hear around, just asking around. So I would second that.
Okay, so let's stop right there, because that's my point. that tells me you're just playing human Jenga. You don't really want a general manager. You want a scout. You want that's what I told Chris Perkins before you came.
Well, I mean, general managers have different backgrounds.
You're going to want like the assistant college director of scouting, because you just want a guy that's happy to draft players for you. I want a general manager. So do you look at Bill Zito as just a scout? Do you look at Pat Riley as just a scout? Because those guys were the general managers of their team.
No, but that's not what he's saying, though. Yeah. I mean, that's the background. He's saying that's the background that they're looking for, is someone with a strong foundation in scouting. So not that they're
general manager has to have a background in scouting, my brother. That's how they got there. That's automatic. But I need a culture builder. Brandon Shore's job is not guaranteed if you have a real general manager, because like this offseason, what do you think it was the capologist, the Brandon Shore of the Panthers, that had to convince the three guys and their agents to take I think it was $22 million between the three guys. And it was like, oh, there's no way that they'll fit all three guys, and people were, yada, yada, yada. And they ended up doing it. Do you think Bill Zito has to be more than just a scout? He has to be like a psychologist. He has to be a recruiter. He has to be a guy that has to have foresight and understanding this player fits our culture and all those kind of things. And I need this kind of capologist, and I need this in my training staff, and I need this. That's what a real general manager does. He makes sure that the entire process is under him. They're not looking for a guy that is going to run the entire football operations. They're not.
See, I wouldn't read that into what he's saying there. I mean, because general managers, they have to have a background in some way, shape, or form. So they're saying that's where the emphasis would be, but that's not what this person would currently be. They're looking for someone who has grown from that foundation of scouting into someone who would then rises into like an assistant GM rank, a director of player personnel rank, one of those levels, from maybe originating in scouting. Now, like Chris Greer himself, he started off in scouting and had been with exactly where we are right now, Foxborough, with the Patriots, joined the Dolphins. It was in a scouting role, start of the millennium, 2000, worked his way up through different positions and different roles, ultimately got to the GM rank and having all the say once Mike Tannenbaum was gone. But I mean, someone who can evaluate talent, and then you have to identify in the interview process who will have all those other traits that you're talking about, that can go sit down with a player, convince someone to take a little bit less money as far as being a salesman does, who can make a pitch and say, okay, this is why coming here is best for you based on X, Y, and Z. And that in a situation where, okay, we don't have as much money as so-and-so is offering, but here's what we can do for you in this situation, and really finding all the pros to whatever you're selling. All those things So you find that you can find that out. You won't find all of it out in the interview process, but you try the best you can to identify those traits once you go through that process. But I mean, I think he's just saying that's the kind of personnel executive that they're looking for.
But that's part of every general manager. They have to have a personnel background. They have final.
Maybe he's not saying much. Maybe he's not saying much with it.
They have final say in all personnel moves, but Miami needs a Bill Zito. They need the problem that they don't. I think, at least this is the way I see it. The part that Stephen Ross doesn't understand is that his entire organization is a disaster, and they need somebody to walk in, and they're the end all be all, and they tell you exactly this is good, that's bad, for everybody's job. You can't change the open, right? So Danny, Tom Garfinkel, and Stephen Ross are safe. Everybody else shouldn't be safe. Everybody else's ass should be on the line right now. And that's what I would be. I would be looking for somebody to run my entire organization, because I don't have the people to do that. And that, to me, the way I understand he's broke it down, if you think about this, and play the Adam Schefter one. I want you to listen to Adam Schefter now.
Okay.
This is hot seat and all that kind of stuff. Listen to how he talks about the owner and the coach on this one. So it kind of tells you what kind of general manager in a way that they want. Go ahead, Sean.
Conversation about a few coaches in the AFC East. Mike McDaniel has been the topic of a lot of conversation all year long.
And we've already seen the Miami Dolphins fire their general manager, bring on Troy Aikman as a consultant and advisor in the GM search, and now we wait to see what happens with Mike McDaniel. The feeling of owners right now is that they prefer to keep him. It doesn't mean that he's going to be safe, but we're leaning safe today. If they were making a decision today, Mike McDaniel is back in 2026, but there are still going to be conversations that occur within this organization that help determine his future. But again, he's a valued offensive mind that has a place, and right now Miami would keep him today.
Okay.
Think about this. He's a valued offensive mind, and today they would keep him. So basically what they're telling you is, well, if Tomlin or Harbaugh land in our lap, well, then now we have to give them the keys to the kingdom and they will do whatever they want with it. But if we're not getting that guy, we're going to go get a guy that is going to work with our guy. And then when you do that, doggy, you limit what you're going to get. You're not going to get the college director of scouting from a team. You're not going to get the pro personnel director of a team. You're not going to get the assistant GM of the team. Why? All those people want a GM job. They want a real GM job, not some kind of pseudo GM that you're kind of just a scout and you don't have control of everything else. You don't have control of your coach. You don't have control of your cap situation and cap people and all that. These are very important things for a general manager to have control over. This sounds to me like they're leaning and they're kind of narrowing what kind of candidates they can get. That's how I'm reading it, my man. You go ahead.
Well, okay. Well, so I mean, this was about the head coach role, whether retaining Mike McDaniel or not. So I would agree as far as that, like nothing had been determined. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm bleeding it into the GM decision.
Okay, bleeding it into. Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to explain more.
Just explain how it's bleeding into the GM decision because he's a valued offensive mind. And right now they want to keep him. And if it was made today, they will keep him. Now there could be out there. And that's telling me that unless some amazing name comes down, the guys that are left, they're going to find somebody to work the human Jenga. That's how I read it, bro. So you tell me what you read.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it. So I don't know how much things would change over 38-10. That was the final score here today, right? 38-10 loss to the Patriots in a game that was meaningless, where you didn't have Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. That's more than half of your offensive yards from scrimmage entering today. So with Quinn Ewers starting as a rookie in this environment. So I don't know how much things change over one meaningless game. If that was the lean going in, which I believe is correct, it is the lean, but maybe nothing settled. I asked Mike McDaniel what he feels about his job security, and if there was a conversation with Stephen Ross, which McDaniel, as he has, he did not want to disclose specific details of the conversation, of any conversations, but said he's going into tomorrow same as he always does. But it kind of read like he wasn't certain if you watch his answer. Maybe he's still waiting in the wings for this ultimate decision. But does it all bleed in? Yeah, maybe it's a situation where, okay, right now, owner and his brass, Stephen Ross and all his team of executives, when you talk about Silman and Garfinkel and Shore being part of it, and Troy Aikman coming in to offer his lending eye and consult with the organization, then maybe they look at it as, okay, we find a GM first, we see what else comes available with coach, and then maybe whoever that hire is, we will try to find the best hire at GM, and then his opinion on the coach could either play a factor later. Now that would then put the Dolphins deep into the process before starting a head coach search if it went that way, or it's try it out for one season. You come in, this new GM, you come in, see how you can work with Mike McDaniel, and then give it a year if you feel like you can. And maybe it won't be so results based that first year, but it might be more process driven. See what the process is like with these two together, and then that GM may have a greater say in terms of what he wants to do with the coach. Similar to how McDaniel inherited Josh Boyer as defensive coordinator. The organization didn't want to make changes on the defensive side, and then they had a year together. So then Boyer was let go after that year. He went with Vic Fangio for a year, Anthony Weaver after that. Possibly it might work similarly with a GM and head coach if McDaniel indeed is retained, which will be all on pins and needles through the rest of the night. Early tomorrow morning, just waiting to see if there is any news, which already did get rolling in Atlanta as the Falcons fired both their coach Raheem Morris and GM Terry Fontenot. So it has begun. Black Monday coming early there.
Yeah, no, they deserve to get fired. I mean, they did a bad job. He's not he's a terrific defensive coordinator. He's got an electric personality. Raheem Morris. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you are what you are. It's a coordinator, and you're a damn good one at that. And there's really no shame at that you're a really good defensive coordinator in the NFL. And he'll get a job in that area at one point or another. So let me ask you: have you changed your thinking at all? Because at least Chris Perkins says clean house. I say clean house. You still think that there's good to bringing back McDaniel? Because I don't know how you sell that to the fan base. I really don't.
No, that's a hard sell to the fan base. From the beginning, all off season when we talked about it, I said if it goes awry, then you clean house. Yes, at the foundation of my belief, do I think that? Yes, but I'm also now adjusting. Okay, it's what reality might be is like Schefter was saying, a lean toward McDaniel staying, and then that's just like I heard you ask Perk. How do you sell that to the fan base? And then my answer would be exactly what I tell you, which is something I do believe is that McDaniel would be better in a situation where he's taking something from the ground up, where instead of a win now scenario like the Dolphins were in 2022, like they had back-to-back winning seasons, the last two under Flores, on a roster that was largely kind of void of talent, but then they were bringing in pieces like Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead and then Bradley Chubb at the trade deadline. Instead of that situation as his first go as head coach, I could totally see him being better, just developing a young core, which remember this roster has completely been void of between the 22 draft, 23 draft, because it was just so all in. Now that he's got Devon Achane a couple of years ago now finishing his third season in the NFL, Patrick Paul, who is a building block, didn't have a good game today, but just largely as a whole, I liked his second season in the NFL. The draft class that we just had, I think it shows some promise, along with if there was another draft class to build on. I could just see if McDaniel builds a foundation, it could work for a team. I'm not 100% convinced on it. That could be a wrong assessment. It could go terribly, but I could just see, especially for those who interact with him more, then I could just understand where that belief might come from. And that would be the selling point is a belief in him taking something from the ground up, especially now having the previous coaching experience of honestly failing under the win now scenario, and then now having something that to build on. But I definitely could understand and have believed from the start that if this season went awry, which it did, 7-10, last year was the status quo, right? That was the quote from Stephen Ross's status quo was unacceptable. Well, this was more unacceptable because it's a game behind. You were eliminated with 3 weeks left. So from that standpoint, then yes, he should be gone.
Yeah, I'm with you. By the way, Welton Rayon, proud sponsors of this program, 954-966-4646. Over the years, we've had listeners here in South Florida, on the West Coast, and the Gold Coast, in Central Florida, call Welton Rayom. If you're dealing with bankruptcy, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, please call Jeff Welton, Daniel Rayom. The consultation is completely free, 954-966-4646. And you know, David, the Danny Silman era is coming to a press conference near you, baby. So, you know, that I think that, you've got Ross in that room for interviewing GMs. You've got Garfinkel. You've got Brandon Short. You've got Marino with a beer in his hand. And then you got Aikman. But really, the secret weapon is Danny Silman. Danny Silman, baby. Think about that. He married into that position. That's the man right there. That's the guy that you've got to envy right there.
I wish I had that kind of game, you know? Like, I need to find me a woman who's in a rich family.
An NFL team.
Yeah.
Say, hey, you're co-owner now. You'll be, hang in there. You play fantasy football. Now you'll play it with us now. Yeah, that's what we're going to do, overall. Schefter did say that he expects a quick decision here. I'm just wondering, bro. So by tomorrow, we have the statement from Stephen Ross, and we have to have it before McDaniel has his press conference on Monday, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, which is a later afternoon press conference. So, if we're counting down the hours here tonight while the Sunday night football game is on and we still hear nothing, then it seems like, it was probably like around this time last year, like after the game. I feel like it probably came out.
He froze.
As far as rookies, so. Okay, am I back? Yeah, I was just saying that I think it was probably around this far out from the end of the season, end of the last game, that the statement came out last year. So maybe that point has already passed and we still don't hear the statement. It's not as immediate, as definite as last year. So, we're looking out for it tonight and then seeing tomorrow morning early on what it is. And then later in the afternoon would be a McDaniel presser as currently scheduled.
I kind of almost expect Anthony Weaver gone, don't you? I kind of expect him to get some interviews, and even that, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being a defensive coordinator somewhere else, to be quite honest.
And would you say this in a mutual parting of ways type of thing?
It's a mutual type of thing. I think it'll be coming more from him than anything else. But I think if you're Anthony Weaver, you need to kind of distance yourself from this.
I could see that. I mean, think about the situation that he was thrown into, especially with these secondaries that are just pieced together. Both of these past 2 seasons, very last minute, like the secondary that didn't have any training camp reps in 2024 and then had to go out there and try to play together between Jordan Poyer, Javon Holland, and Jalen Ramsey was still with the team. And this year, Rasul Douglas is signed within 2 weeks, on roster cutdown day. He's signed, and then he's not starting week 1, but has to get thrown in there when Storm Duck goes down, and then is a start. And Rasul Douglas was actually awesome all year. He was a tremendous pickup. Jack Jones joins during training camp and maybe took his lumps in camp, like the joint practice out there in Detroit against Amon-Ra St. Brown, but ended up piecing together a decent season for all. He's always put in a tough position with just what he has to work with. This year, the D-line, 3 rookies, so it's about developing them. Edge rushing core, he doesn't have Chop Robinson for some games, has Bradley Chubb coming back after missing a full season and gets the most out of him. So, I feel like he did do a lot well with what he was working with, which was a lot that was just pieced together, a tough spot to be in.
He knows that there's cap issues for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
And he doesn't know who the GM is coming in. This is not a great place for his resume because of the chaotic situation. you're going to have more chaos. So I would imagine he's going to lose. You know, we had the other coach putting offensive coordinators and offensive staffs because he couldn't build one. Well, this guy can't build a defensive staff because he's going to keep losing his guys. And so I would imagine, my prediction is that Anthony Weaver is somewhere more stable next year. Let's just put it that way. Just going to go that way.
That'd be fair.
You know,
that'd be fair, and that'd be a good thing for him too. Because I mean, this was the number 21 scoring defense. I mean, I don't know if they went down also. So I know they didn't hit 20 because Bradley Chubb needed it for his incentives to kick in, and that was already done by the time the Patriots scored the second touchdown today. Yeah. But it would, if he was the D coordinator of like a Baltimore. Well, Baltimore's defense is not a good example this year, but a lot of other years, like that kind of just sort of established place where they're consistently strong on that side of the ball. I thought of Baltimore just because of his background there, but that would be a lot better for his resume than to be tied to, if someone says his name in a building, where was he from? He ran Miami's defense. And you're there like, the Dolphins? So why should we bring in the Dolphins defensive coordinator? You know, so I get it.
All right. So finally, the more important stuff, how was the spread for the media at
I thought we would lead off with that, but over here. So now this would be my fifth trip here. They always got the chowder, so the clam chowder out here. It's a given. So I always get one. I always buy one like on the Saturday when I'm here before the game, just like somewhere, try out some clam chowder at one of the spots in Boston, and then have it because they have it at the press box every game here. So I always have it here at the press box, and then they had these bourbon steak tips. And then all the sides. So excellent. I started off with some hot chocolate because I wasn't hungry yet when I got in. Came in at the cold, so some hot chocolate was good.
Are they still the best, or one top three, or whatever in the league when it comes to food?
Yeah, up there. I mean, I'm thinking of like the times I've been to SoFi in LA. They've got a good spread. Let me see, like Allegiant Stadium. I went so long ago, but over there in Vegas, they try to do like this Miami Cuban style themed because the Dolphins were in town, and I don't think they did it right. Then I'm coming from Miami, so I'm not going for the Cuban food that they bring out in Vegas. So so that one wasn't great, but what else is good? I mean, I feel like so I would hear from Marcel Louis-Jacques that Buffalo was always bad, but recently they've really stepped their game up on the press box food. And I feel like those northern teams, like those cold environments, they got to do the food right because, it's just like, right, everyone's bundled up staying in. You got to have the food done correctly. So I feel like just a lot of northern places get it right as far as the media spread.
All right, so one Cuban to another. And listen, I get it, but I'm going to go a little off the beaten path here. I just got to get your vibe from this. Did you watch anything on the NHL yesterday? The whole, the one at the baseball game, whatever is it called? The hockey.
Yeah. Friday night. Yeah. Friday night, the Winter Classic. Yeah. I had it on.
Friday or Saturday, whatever it was, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, definitely Friday. Yeah. Yeah. Cause I traveled yesterday. So yeah. And I saw it from home.
Friday. Okay. Luis Fonsi and hockey, bro, it doesn't mix, dude. If it was the Marlins and they were, playoffs or something, or some, I can understand the Luis Fonsi thing because you have a lot of Latin guys coming out and all that kind of stuff. The whole thing was really cool, and this is from a Latin guy, and I get it, bro. You're in Miami and all that, and you're placating to the whole Latin culture crap and all yada 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 yada. I thought it was weak sauce, bro. That's just me. Everything else was cool except for the Luis Fonsi part. It didn't. Hockey is something that has an edge, bro.
Yeah, like rock and roll. It's a little bit more, hardcore. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I get your criticism for sure. Yeah, it didn't mesh well, but I don't hate on, and I don't on the NHL trying to broaden its horizons and open up to a larger, more wide scale audience. So Hispanic audience is definitely one where the NHL would have some room to grow. So I totally understand it as far as the attempt, and especially, I mean, it's the theme. You're bringing hockey to Little Havana, so I get why it was the choice, but also the Panthers they must have been skating Despacito because they did not put on a good performance on that ice that they had manipulated out there outdoors in 60-degree weather, Yeah, I get it as far as it didn't mesh well as far as that musical product with the hockey product.
Yeah, to me, I would have liked something else with a little bit more fun, edgy stuff like that. I think it would have gone a little bit better, with the acts. But whatever, bro. It is what it is. I just thought it was kind of weak sauce. All right, what do you got?
Would you have gone Latin music, but just something that's not a slower, like that song is called Despacito, which means like slowly. Would you have gone with something that's more like up tempo, like reggaeton type of Latin music to go with the hockey product, or is it just that it was Latin music with hockey?
No, see, the thing is, if I'm going to do it, I would have done like Newfound Glory, a Coral Springs band who's national. They're fun rock. It's kind of like an indie type rock. No, not even indie. It's more punk, like grunge, like I don't know what I would call it, but it has an edge to it. And they're a home-based band. Dashboard Confessional is also from here, okay? But no, I probably would have gone with Newfound Glory. Newfound Glory has music that would have gone with hockey and the opening and all that, and they're modern, bro, and they're young. You know what I mean? And I get the whole Luis Fonsi thing, but I think you also alienated a lot of your audience too at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Whereas,
but the audience that you already have, and I feel like you can do what you're saying. You could do that any game in Sunrise. You could do that any game at Amaranth Bank Arena. But I think they really wanted to dive into this is hockey being brought back to Miami, so Dade County. So I get the attempt, although of course because it's not that kind of great combination yet. They can aspire to be. They can try to dive into the Latin audience and community, but it's not going to always work from the first go at it. So it's an attempt.
I've seen Newfound Glory in concert a couple times. They are awesome, dude. They are fun.
I don't doubt it. I don't.
Do you know anything about Newfound Glory?
Not really. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I might need to find myself this Newfound Glory.
You need to check them out. They're a modern band. I don't know what's Newfound Glory. Maybe 15 years old or something. I don't know. Look it up there, Sean. Tell me Newfound Glory. How long have they been around? They haven't been around very long. I mean, they've got a few albums, 15 years or something like that, and they're a local band, and they're actually really good.
No.
Huh?
I've heard the name for sure, but just haven't really listened. So
yeah, you should catch them at one time live. You'll definitely love their vibe, and it would go with hockey. That's for damn sure. Anyway, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ Yes, sir, Sean. Oh, the mic would be help if it was on.
Yeah, I went the wrong one. Formed in 1997.
There you go. Actually, holy crap.
They're going on 30. They're going on 30.
Yeah, they formed 97. Did they get like a contract right away in 97, or like when was their first album? When was Newfound Glory's first album? Look at their discography. That's when you count, when they have that first album.
Hit or Miss was 1999.
There you go. 26 years, Newfound Glory.
Took a couple years, and then yeah.
And they're really good, man. They're really good. 26 years, so they actually must do something right, actually, But anyway, follow him on Twitter at David Furones _ What the hell are you working on there with all this mess coming up now?
Yeah, just well, I've got stories ready to go either way. McDaniel retained, McDaniel let go. So just wrapping up the game coverage tonight, and then it's really just see which way it goes from there. And then once we have that, then kind of can get a better idea on my Monday, my early travel into back into Miami and South Florida, how the coverage is going with an eye on the future. And then all throughout the offseason, I did a bunch of interviews with different players that I'll just be rolling out through the slow times. But the first and foremost will be about all the GM updates. So, we'll have an eye on that.
All right, there you go. David, as always, safe travels, my brother. We will catch up next week.
Sounds good, Big O. Thank you.
You got it. There you go. The great David Furones. Follow him on Twitter at @DavidFurones_ and support. If you're looking for lawyers you can count on, I saw them crush Progressive for us when we had some idiot kids think that they're fast and furious, and they went right through the wall of our house. 954-966-4646. If unfortunately you're dealing with bankruptcy, which could happen to any of us, homeowner property damage, condo damage, criminal defense, business owner claims, commercial litigation, personal injury, call them 954-966-4646.
This has been another session of the Welton Rayon Miami Dolphins Report with David Furones. At Welton Rayon, they don't get paid unless you win. They handle complex personal injury claims caused by the fault of another in both state and federal courts. They handle auto, trucking, motorcycle slip and fall, and bicycle accidents. Call 954-966-4646. Welton Rayon can help.
Right. Appreciate all of you out there. Please smash the hell out of the like button. Very important that you smash the like button. All right. You can make a donation to the show, Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Any super chats out there, Sean, that we have not gotten to? Let's see. Eric says, watch Furones is going to ride that McDaniel train. Well, I at the heart and soul, he says he would like to see a change, but he's kind of been leaning that they're going to keep this clown around. And I don't get it, dude. I don't get it. Eric, thank you for the super chat, sir. Next up, Toxic Fart says, good news. More of the same next year. McFraud stays. I know. It's just, I don't know how you tell your fan base that. And it's basically you don't really care about winning. And that's really what you're telling your fan base. We're going to start getting to a point with this owner where people are going to stop going to games, stop spending money, and they're just going to watch on television and things like that. That's what's going to end up happening. Apathy is going to start setting in. As strong as the NFL is in this town, you will get punished for this kind of stuff. And eventually, even football, even the NFL, even the Dolphins will get punished for this. And we'll see. We'll see if this is a year, but we're starting to build to that point because there's a lot of people that are just getting to the point where they can't deal with it anymore because there's no hope. You know what I mean? The only hope is that you create it in your mind and you lie to yourself about something. You know what I mean? Like I had some guys earlier, oh no, McDaniel's going to turn it around now and run the table. And it's like, dude, like how stupid can you be? Like, really? Have you not learned? But I get it. I've learned over the years that there's a portion of the fan base that they follow the team, but they don't want to know what's the real honesty of what they're following. You know what I mean? They want to lie to themselves, and then they convince themselves that every game's going to be great and they're going to win every game and anything can happen and any given Sunday and all those stupid cliches. And, it's sad. It really is. But I think people are running out of patience with, especially with Ross. It's not that they don't love the Dolphins, is that they don't love the owner because they think he is a detriment to everything, which he is. Next up, it is the Toxic Fart. Oh, you did that already. Did he send it again? But thank you, Toxic Fart. Appreciate you. Seminole Dolphin, McDaniel talks like Butthead from Beavis and Butthead. Yes, there's no doubt he talks like if it's Jeff Spicoli, the coach. Yeah. Where'd you get that jacket? All right, go ahead. It is Toxic Fart again. McFraud to Ross. Can't make chicken salad with chicken shit. Ross, okay. Greer goes, you stay. Maybe, maybe not. Whatever. Greer wins. He gets away from this already, and he got his money. Tua will get cut, and he'll get his money and get away from this. He must be happy sitting there and that bench going, this place is a disaster. It is what it is. I don't know what will happen with Tua. It'll be I'll be very intrigued to see what happens with Tua in the offseason if he's let go. If they retain him, then he's just going to sit for a year, do nothing whatsoever, which will be like brutal for him. But if they release him, I'm going to be very intrigued to see either he retires or he makes some kind of a comeback somewhere and see if he's successful or not in it. You know what I'm saying? That would be very, very interesting. Go ahead. What's up next there, Sean Stanley? Remember, Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show, Cash App or Venmo. True Fin fan, word is Furones is eating with McD. Best buds. Oh, man. All right, what's the next one? It is True Fin fan. David, give us fans one reason to keep McDaniel. I don't think there's one, dude. Yeah, well, no, he says he thinks that he would be a good guy for the transition part of the team right now, which I don't think so. I think he's actually a detriment and a terrible influence on any team. That's the way I look at Mike McDaniel. Edward Thurston Howell, thank you, sir, for the love on the super chat. He says, does Ross deserve a blind-ass owner alert? Oh, God, yes. There is nobody that is a bigger blind-ass fan than Stephen Ross, Sean Stanley. Fire away.
Blind-ass fan alert. Look out, everyone. We've got a blind-ass fan coming through.
Is he a blind-ass fan? Or is he just an evil billionaire that is playing a game and doing just enough to get by so people can buy tickets? It's not like they're the 16th most powerful franchise in all of pro sports in the world. Okay? 16th. There's only 15 other franchises. By the way, none of them soccer. Soccer's lower in the ring. But there is a couple, but they're in the bottom part. The NFL is the most powerful league in the world. It's more powerful than any single soccer league that's out there. Serie A, the Premiership, the Bundesliga. It does not matter. None of them are stronger and more powerful than the NFL and more money. It's crazy. Okay? Dolphins are 16th. That's just football revenue. That's not adding the F1 race. That's not adding the tennis tournament. That's not adding the hospital. That's not adding all the concerts, the festivals. They produce so much money on that property, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, that they win constantly. They don't care. I know this. I've been around Jorge Mas. He would never tolerate these 15 years. It would drive him. He would go nuts. He hates to lose a game. You don't even want to be around that man when he loses a game. He's pissed. That's the kind of owner you want. Somebody that really takes this to heart. Stephen Ross kind of takes it half-assed, to be quite honest. You know? Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo. Jake Dubbin says, thank you for another fun kind of season. We know this Dolphin franchise won't be winning jack until new ownership comes in. Well, we're never going to get new ownership. We're getting the son-in-law taking over. The daughter and the son are taking over. Time to focus on a real franchise in the Panthers. Amen. They are a real franchise, my brother. Thank you, Jake Dubbin. I appreciate you on Venmo. Appreciate the love. And we always encourage Cash App or Venmo because the show keeps 100%. We love the Super Chats, but damn, YouTube takes 30. Hateful Steve is back. He says, you see the list of opponents for the Dolphins next season? If we went 7-10, it would be a miracle. To bring back McDaniel against that schedule is definitely an intentional tanking. Well, I mean, yeah, but you don't get to tank enough because you end up winning 5, 6, 7, 8 games, and you end up screwing yourself. You don't really get to tank the way you wanted to tank. We don't do that. It's weird. And Hateful Steve chimes in again, and he says, how about Carlos Santana for the Winter Classic? I got no problem with that, but he's not a South Florida guy. Okay? So that's why I use the South Florida band. And also, they actually, their music is super groovy, and it goes with hockey. But yeah, no, Carlos Santana would be absolutely fantastic. I would love that. Definitely. Ray, thank you for the love on the Venmo, sir. Appreciate you big time, R&M Contractors. He says, a victory cigar for all of us to put up with this season. Let's go Canes. Damn right. Give the fans, the Miami Dolphin fans, who, by the way, the Dolphins don't deserve any of you. Not one damn one of you. You all are way better than that franchise, and they don't deserve Ray. They don't deserve Hateful Steve. They don't deserve Jake. They don't deserve Peter. They don't deserve anybody on that damn chat board right now. They don't deserve any of you. You guys are way better than the team that we all love and follow, because that team gives us nothing in return. So, yeah, let's give ourselves, go ahead, Sean, a victory cigar. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you, Ray. Cash App or Venmo at Cash Big O Show. That is Cash Big O Show. Cash App or Venmo. And you can make a Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, or Solana donation as always, and we appreciate that. By the way, Bitcoin is ripping to 93,000, which is actually a beautiful thing. All right, what do we have here on the Super Chats? Humble Legend, thank you, sir, for the Super Chat. He says, we started the season with a super concussed QB, and we ended the season with a super concussed Hall of Fame QB advising Ross on how to fix the team. Touché. I like that. By the way, that is that was a bad thing for Troy to go through. You know, that was those concussions are no joke, man. I just hope that Troy brings something to the table. You know, it's hard for me to really be extremely hopeful. I'm glad that there's a different voice in that group, because the group is not a strong group. It's a very weak group that we have there doing the GM search. And that's part of our problem here right now. Unfortunately, we don't have like a real team president that's a football guy that understands everything and can hire a GM, and then the GM knows the coaching and the culture and all that kind of stuff. We don't have that. And that's what puts us as fans and that team behind the eight ball. And you and I don't get to experience the upper echelon of winning ever, unfortunately. Jeremy Dorsett, thank you for the love on the Super Chat. As dumb as Ross is, he could hire any ex-Brown GM to be the next GM of the Browns. He could do all kinds of stupid things. Yeah. Anything is possible with that man, unfortunately. That's the crazy part. Anything is possible with that man. And that's the part that's kind of frustrating for all of us as fans. It really sucks, dude. It really sucks to be in the position that we're in right now. because we want to feel hopeful. Listen, like I've told the story before. I wanted Tristan Wirfs that year. Okay. I didn't want Tua or Herbert, because I didn't want Tua because of the injury history, even though I thought he could play the game and throw, and I think he's an excellent passer. But I know there are holes in his game, and you got to build the team the certain way, but I didn't like his injury history. And then Herbert, that clutch gene, I don't know if he really has it in him, and I still don't believe he does. So I wanted Tristan Wirfs, who, by the way, has become the better draft pick out of the three. But when they drafted Tua, I said, okay. I spun it and said, okay, listen, it could work. And it could work. And I explained it how many years. And I explained, build a line, a real line, a running game for the kid, and a tight end, and yada, yada, yada. And I repeated it over and over. And they refused to do it. And here we are. And so at least I took a positive outlook on it to say, okay, if you're going to do this, then do this. Did they? No. So it's hard to feel hopeful when you have Dan Marino and you didn't build it right around him. That's hard, dude. It's hard to feel hopeful when you end up with a generational defense. Maybe not maybe they're not no name. Maybe they're not the Doomsday. Maybe they're not the mid-90s Cowboys. Maybe they're not the early 90s Bills. Maybe they're not the Broncos of a few years back. Maybe they're not the Eagles of recent lore, or the Ravens of the beginning of the century here. Okay, maybe they're just a notch under, but that Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas defense was a Super Bowl winning defense if you gave it actually an offense. If you gave it an offense that could score and play more with the lead at times, that defense would have been nasty and it would have looked better. But we didn't know how to build and complement that defense. We didn't know how to build and complement Marino. We had Tua, and we didn't know how to complement him. And so this is like the story of our lives. Even sorry-ass Tannehill. He went to Tennessee, and Vrabel understood who Tannehill was, and he built the rest of the team stronger so he could just game manage. Make a couple passes, all that. You don't have to do too much. He lost his job when they forced him to do too much, and he was throwing interceptions because that's who scatterbrain Ryan Tannehill is. You know what I mean? But even with that, they couldn't even maximize that. They can't maximize anything ever. And that's been our problem as fans and watching the organization through 3 different owners, through a slew of general managers, a boatload of head coaches, and we continue to have the same issues. Don't know how to build a football team, can't build a culture, no matter who it is. Jimmy Johnson will tell you he was going to be special, and they weren't ever special. Don Shula couldn't figure it out at the end, and Dave Wanstead, the defense, ended up getting old on his ass, and so on and so forth. And we talk about the hot assistant coaches that we brought in, and none of them were hot enough to become good head coaches. It's hard. You want to feel hopeful. You even try to accommodate some of the decisions that you don't even agree with, like myself. But this is really hard to deal with. Like, it's just disgusting. Let's see. Alonzo Highsmith is a little busy right now. He probably doesn't need us. And I don't know if Alonzo Highsmith wants to leave where he's at right now to come here. Why would you? So I don't know. He's doing fine for himself right now, actually. Another guy that I loved was Alonzo Highsmith, but it is what it is, man. What are you going to do? I wish we had better things to say and a brighter future ahead, but it's really hard to imagine that with everything that's gone on. It really is, unfortunately. All right, folks, we are out of here. We appreciate all of you out there as always. By the way, I'd be remiss if I did not do this because this gentleman needs it. I know the Dolphins didn't win, but I'm going to give you a Murias Dental. Since you got Murias Dental up, let's go with our Murias Dental MVP of the night.
Who's last night's MVP? There's only one MVP for your family's dental care.
Moodius Dental. Get your smile back at Moodius Dental. Visit them on Instagram at moodius.dental.
Here's our Moodius Dental MVP of the night.
I'm going to go with a guy that lays it out there and leaves it all out there, and that's Jordan Brooks. He was injured. He was coming in, limping, and somehow or another, and risking more injury in the process probably. And the guy led the team in tackles, ends up owning the record for the year. I have gotten to a point where I'm not big on individual honors anymore. When they happen, I don't really get crazy about celebrating because I want collective honors. I want team-oriented stuff. I'm tired of celebrating an individual honor here or there, and it doesn't turn into anything collectively. But because Jordan Brooks is absolute stud, because he leaves it all out there, because he's a real leader, he's one of those guys that I really enjoy watching. And as a Dolphins fan, I don't have a lot to root for. I don't have a lot to be proud of. But Jordan Brooks is one of those guys that I'm proud to say he's a Miami Dolphin. And I'm really proud to watch that guy play every week because we don't have enough Sielers. We don't have enough Jordan Brooks. And if there were more of those kind of guys throughout this roster, you and I know they would have much better seasons than 7 wins. We'd be in the double-digit area at this point, and we'd be talking about a team that would be going to the playoffs. But we don't have enough of those character guys. On a game that he, and he probably played for all the right reasons, not just for the record, because he wants to help his teammates. You just heard Furones talk about how, and he's talking about how we've got to improve in the third quarter next year. This is a man that is truly about the team. And to me, when you go and visit Murias Dental, that's a family. That's a team, dude. Father, 2 sons. They've been at it for years. I've been going there forever. Me, my wife, my daughter, my mother-in-law. We've been going to Murias Dental. 2 great locations, by the way. You can visit our friends at Murias Dental in Dade County and in Broward County. 305-821-0231 in Dade County. In Broward, it is 954-692-6825. Invisaligns, dental implants, preventive care, cosmetic surgery. Get your smile back. Visit our friends at Murias Dental. Visit the sponsors that make it happen for us. And, of course, visit them on Instagram at murias.dental. Jordan Brooks is our Murias Dental MVP of the night.
The MVP of the night is brought to you by Murias Dental.
From Invisaligns, dental implants, same-day crowns, and the preventative care and preservation to get your smile back. They accept most major dental insurances. They provide free new patient exams. To schedule an appointment in Dade, call 305-821-0231. In Broward, 954-692-6825. Follow them on Instagram at murias.dental, providing MVP smiles every day of the year.
I appreciate all of you out there. As always, thank you. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. On Tuesday, we'll be at Hialeah Park. On Wednesday, we're going to be at Caneswear, starting off at 11 a.m. To get you ready for the big game, baby, the semifinals. This is amazing. Your Canes are 1 win away from the national championship game and 2 wins away. Today is day number 8,763 since the Canes won the national title. They've got a great opportunity to reset that number. Unfortunately, our Dolphins, today is day number 18,980 since they won a championship back in the 70s. It's been a long time, and they're going to be adding a lot more days to that, unfortunately. But the Canes have got a great chance. So this is an exciting week. And especially for those of us that are Canes and Dolphins fans, Lord knows we need this, because we haven't had any football satisfaction for decades. At least 2 decades for the Canes, and it's been 4 decades for the Dolphins. It's been pretty bad. So go Canes. Let's hope for the best. Go Bitcoin. Let's get it done. And we'll see what the Dolphins do this offseason. We'll be addressing it all throughout the week and everything that happens, and we'll explain it to you, and we'll break down anything and everything that goes on. We thank David Furones. We thank, of course, Chris Perkins. Thank Chris for his work all season long. Thank David Furones, as always, for getting it done here on the program. Thank the great Sean Stanley. Appreciate all of you that tuned in. Hit the like button. Thank you. Notification bell. If you made a donation, we appreciate it. Visit our fantastic sponsors. We shall see you tomorrow morning. Same time, same place. Same bat channel.
You've been listening to our Dolphins post-game show with Big O. The broadcast is brought to you by Welton Rayom, Acura of Pembroke Pines, Hialeah Park Casino, RM Contractors, Toyota of Hollywood, Haineswear, Sloman's Home Security, BigCheeseMiami.com, EJD Construction. The broadcast is mastered by executive producer Sean Stanley. Thank you for supporting the platform and our fantastic sponsors. Go Fins!